Sanbonani, hello South Africa. A very warm welcome to Expressions. This is definitely the place for you to air your views. I'm your host, Jacqueline Mapala.
And I'm your host, Umqolisiwa Gomasango. Now we're coming to you live from our headquarters in Auckland Park, Johannesburg. Namhlanje, we are here to have a very important discussion. Teenage pregnancy is back in the spotlight, and Namhlanje Sabuzage, is South Africa failing the girl child?
Yes, indeed, Mko, like you said, the issue around teenage pregnancy is again back on the spotlight. Now, we all woke up to the shocking statistics coming from the Gauteng Department of Health indicating that 23,000 teenage girls fell pregnant. Now, out of those 23,000, 934 of them are young girls between the ages of 10 to 14 years old. Now, Mko, not only is this a crisis, but it's an issue that I think as Expressions, we definitely have to tackle.
Absolutely, and we did just that because we took to the streets to find out what do young people have to say. Take a look at this.
Hi Expressions, I'm Anati Kekana from Downtown High School and I am your street journal for the day. Today I'll be speaking to my fellow peers on what they think is the impact of teenage pregnancy. How has the lockdown impacted teenage pregnancy?
More parents are not there, especially for the parents that are in the front lines, you understand. So there's more children who are home alone, who have nothing to do.
And I feel as if with them going to school one day in, one day out, it gets them to become rebellious and them to go out and stuff. And then that's when it causes for them to meet older men or even older boys. And then it causes them to be pressured into doing the wrong things.
During lockdown, a lot of parents lost their jobs. So now kids are taking it to their hands to find a way to get an income for the household.
60% of students at home aren't doing their schoolwork, during lockdown especially. So it's boredom, which results into teenage pregnancy. It wasn't intended, but it happened.
Who do you guys think is making these young girls pregnant?
Firstly, you get people who are peer pressured by their peers and their friends. Some of them are filled with low self-esteem.
I mean, when you're desperate, you can make any choice you can actually make at that time. So I feel as if it depends where you come from as well and who you can talk to about these situations that happen at school, at home, and in your community.
I think it's circumstances. Sometimes these young girls don't intend on getting pregnant. Sometimes it's money problems, poverty.
I believe that it's the older men. I see it as them taking advantage of these younger girls and they're using them to get their sexual pleasure, whereas they're supposed to be helping them with education or something that will benefit their lives.
In my opinion, I also think there are people that have been raped, people who have been hurt, and they don't want to lose a part of themselves by giving up this baby. Hence, teenage pregnancy has escalated.
You've been doing life skills, LO, since grade 4. They teach you about these things, how pressure and whatnot. So I think it's themselves. They should tell themselves, Gucci, no matter what I'm going through, no matter the situation, they should be able to be like, you know what, I'm not going to do this.
It's a bit taboo in black families to speak about contraceptives and so on. So they do these things and practice them without protection, basically.
So those were some of the comments coming from young people on the streets. And of course, I'm not going to be unpacking this issue by myself. I'm joined in my panel by Anthony Mayers, who is from the Department of Education, as well as Umbuyiselo Botha, who is a gender activist. Gentlemen, a very warm welcome to Expressions.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for being here with us. And of course, they always say the best things come in twos. And of course, I want to say hello to Umqo as well as his studio. At least, should we say the audience for today? Not studio. Audience for today.
So with our audience joining us here with Jackie, and of course, we're standing by to have this very important conversation. Guys, thank you so much for taking the time to join us on Expressions today. Jackie, let's get it started.
Let's get this conversation started. I mean, it's such a pivotal conversation. And I think, Mwiselo, let me start with you. I mean, mean, these are numbers, right? When we're talking about 23,000 teenage girls in Gauteng, not in Gauteng, between the period of April 2020 to March 2021. What is this telling us? What is this revealing to us about our society and where we're at due to the shutdown and the lockdown?
Well, it means that we are just, it mirrors the dysfunctionality that we're talking about. But it also, Jackie, says a lot about how we, as parents in particular, how we outsource all of these to teachers. Now that the schools are not in a roundabout way, are not functioning properly, you don't have your day-to-day. It means, therefore, that the problems, they compound. Because usually, we as parents would always, as I said, outsource. Would say, Jackie, that I have no power, to do anything about it. As a result, our children, it means they go out, whatever information they do get, they get it from their peers. It could be misinformation, it could be uninformed, discussions that they have. But at the core, when I check, it means, therefore, that we are not doing what we're supposed to do as parents, as the first port of call. I mean, our children must in the first place, when I check it, must believe that the first person I should go to should be mom and dad.
And I'm glad that you brought that to the fore, because I think the conversation that's been happening currently right now is to say, who's to blame? We're all pointing fingers. But I think it's very important to understand that as a society, we all play a role, and it's about having all hands on deck. And I think I just want to bring this issue to you, Anthony. I mean, what is the position of the Department of Education? What is the role of education in ensuring that we don't have these types of statistics?
Yeah, I think firstly, it is a concerning situation because our main focus is to ensure that learners stay in school for as long as possible, especially girl learners, do the best they can in order to improve their life chances, and that we deal with any barriers, anything that prevents them from being in school and doing their best. So that is the focus of the department. And the department can't do it alone, you're quite correct. It takes a village to raise a child. It's about how we work with all support structures, both internally and externally, and especially even learners themselves, because learners themselves have agency as well. So it's really an all-encompassing process where we need to pull together to ensure protection, to ensure the best possible outcomes for learners whilst in school, but also going forward in life.
Mm-hmm. And Bisele, you are a gender activist, and our poll question today is South Africa failing its girl children? I mean, what would your response be to our poll question today?
Well, yes. I mean, if you go by the statistics, I mean, we do as a country do fail girls, mainly because they are, I mean, there are a lot of things that we should do. I mean, SABC recently ran a poll on pit latrines in schools. I mean, you have these psychosocial, I mean, deep problems in our society. And unfortunately, when Jackie, they impact disproportionately the girl child. So we do indeed continue to fail them, whether they're in school, whether they're out of school. We are to be blamed as a country because we have not sufficiently focused on how do we make them as a center, the girl child.
And maybe, Anthony, this is where probably you could come in, is to say, during these very trying times, I mean, the lockdown is probably a very unprecedented time that any of us have found ourselves in, regardless of whether you're a department, whether you're a parent, whether you're a young person. So how do we empower the girl child to ensure that they are not, vulnerable, that they are not at risk to issues such as teenage pregnancy?
Yes, I think the protection of children is paramount. One of the things, for instance, we're doing is to partner with, say, for instance, Childline. Very easy number to remember, 116. That's where all children, parents, communities can reach out for support and get the support because we know this is a novel situation. As you say, it's a novel. We haven't dealt with this before. It creates a lot of anxiety, a whole range of other support matters that come up. So it's really about how we pull together and ensure that there's support. We have a whole range of partners also through our HIV and AIDS life skills program that assists us, and it's about moving all of the support online and into spaces where we become innovative in the way we actually support our learners.
Well, I think I mean, when we are still talking and dealing with 23,000 teenage girls who are falling pregnant in just the province as a whole, I think it's very important for us to make sure that we empower the girl child as much as we possibly can. And of course, we continue with this very important conversation around whether we are failing the girl child. We'll be back right after this. You are watching Expressions.
Now, welcome back. You're still watching your Expressions, your number one youth current affairs show. Now, Utaba Kulugi namhlanje, hot off the heels of that report from last week that about 23,000 young girls are getting pregnant. See Expressions, we dissect the matter namhlanje as we're asking you the important question, Lapekaya, are we failing the girl child as South Africa? Bertha, let's first get you into this conversation. I know from the panel we've been getting so many answers around who's getting these girls pregnant. What are we missing really? All right, maybe you can even just, for the sake of time, yeah.
Okay.
This one, yeah.
So basically, like the two gentlemen have said, what we are missing is really how can we be able to empower our girls? How can we be there to support them so that in a time like this, they don't end up engaging in sexual risky behaviors and ending up pregnant? As young as 10, that is heartbreaking.
Absolutely heartbreaking and shocking indeed. Let's bring in a school child. Perhaps if you can just take to the microphone. I just want to find out from you, as a matriculant, what do you think is the root cause for the young girls getting pregnant?
I personally think that teenage pregnancy's main cause is because of lack of knowledge. Like children from especially high schools have the lack of knowledge of finding out how to use contraceptives or how to prevent pregnancy. And especially in black families, it's totally taboo for to find them talking about pregnancy or for them to actually ensure that their girls know about pregnancy and how to avoid pregnancy. And also in poverty-stricken families, you'll find that the girl will get a man that will use him for sexual pleasure in exchange for money so that they can provide for their families.
You're making a very critical point there. Douglas, I need to bring you in this particular point. Please take to the mic. I need to find out what is COSAS doing, seeing that you guys are normally in the forefront of making sure that the student voice is represented.
No, thank you. I think I should first make a disclaimer that the beret I'm wearing is not that of the other. It's a real beret of the Youth League. But now we are here today. We're discussing learners. 23,000 of them who are pregnant, and we are not being true to ourselves to say that there are more than 900 rape cases which are unreported, because now we find ourselves in a situation where more than 900 learners who are between the age of 10 and 14 are pregnant. And they are not some Maria or whatsoever who are impregnated by the Holy Spirit. They are impregnated by us, men, some of them our age, some of them your age, some of them are even family members, some of them are even leaders in our society. But now, it is very unfortunate that this is not even a political discussion. It is a social discussion to say that the Department of Basic Education, you are here on behalf of the Department of Basic Education. You would remember that the Congress of South African Students has called on the digitalization of our education. Our learners around this rotational system, they've got nothing to do at home. They chow each other every day as if there's no tomorrow. The this is necessarily because when they are not going to school today, tomorrow, they just go out to their boyfriends.
Okay,
they
Douglas.
go there. We are in a mess.
All right.
We're in a mess, and this is mainly because of an administrator of the Department of Education called Mantazima Mueli, who does not want to implement
Okay,
the
Douglas.
digitalization of basic education. If that can happen,
Let's come back to
we're
that
going-
point.
Okay, no, it's fine.
We'll definitely come back to that. I need to bring in an activist here. You know, I saw you nodding frantically to some of the points that Douglas was making. Please speak to us about the point that you want to make.
Hi, my name is Mo Sinne. I'm the digital media manager at Activate Change Drivers. Our campaign around August is around including the boy child. As we keep unpacking this, I don't hear anyone really pointing out to the fact that if we want to dismantle dysfunctional patterns of behavior, dysfunctional thought patterns, we need to include the boy child in the conversation. You can't empower the girl child and think she's going to live in harmony with a boy child who's growing up with traditional and dysfunctional patriarchal beliefs that only seek to other and silence the girl child. Khanyani, we're talking about 10 to 12-year-olds. Nobody's saying that they're raped. Very few actually people are admitting that these people were raped. We're saying they're having sex in the same breath where we're saying they do not have the capacity to consent. So we're taking away from the conversation, giving blame to the girl child. The sex ed that you're talking about is directed solely towards
Okay.
the girl child.
All right.
The only point where the boys enter is when we're talking about condoms. It's like you're telling victims, when you get raped
All right.
as a 10-year-old, this is what is available to you. And that is the definition of empowering the girl child that I'm hearing
Okay, I'm
from
going to
all
ask
of these
that we bring in
implementations.
someone else into the conversation. Tando from the Democratic Alliance, you guys decided to take offense over the report. I mean, you know, the whole of South Africa is in shock as it is. Was this pure politicking or was it just genuine concern? Speak to us.
Thank you so much. And from the Democratic Alliance, this was not a pure political act. Teenage pregnancy is a societal issue. It requires each and every one of us, all stakeholders, to hold hands and work together in curbing the issue at hand. Now, as the Democratic Alliance, we are very much concerned about the future of these young girls. It cannot be that there's the Department of Health, there's the Department of Education, there's the Department of Social Development, and yet there's nothing else that's being done. There's no campaign that's being done to ensure that the issue of teenage pregnancy is being curbed. I thank you.
All right, Tando there from the Democratic Alliance. Mundomusha, what do you have to add to this conversation? Please keep it going. It's going to go Facebook, it's going to go Twitter, it's going to go Instagram. Let's get it going. Are we failing the girl child? We're back after this.
Welcome back. You're still watching Expressions, your number one youth current affairs show. Today, we're putting a very important spotlight on the rising numbers of teenage pregnancy in this country. We've just received a report from the Department of Gauteng, the Health Department of Gauteng, indicating that 23,000 teenage girls have fallen pregnant. Now, as Expressions, we're asking, is South Africa failing the girl child? Now, of course, we're going to wrap up this conversation. I think, gentlemen, what is probably very important, as much as there's so many issues that have been raised, what is the way forward? Anthony, what's the way forward?
Well, we would want to intensify our comprehensive sexuality education to deal with some of these issues. Yes, the provision of education, not only in the traditional way, and keeping our learners engaged on and off site, I think that's critically important.
Mm-hmm. And from you, Biselo, what is the way forward? What is the solution to this issue?
Let's break the barriers. Let's forget about allowing culture to entrap us. Let's break out of that mold that we can't talk about sex and sexuality with our children, especially as parents. Let's stop giving everything to teachers. They are overwhelmed by their circumstances. Let's take charge. If kids ask us, let's get involved. Let's get involved and get our hands dirty in ensuring that sex education, it's not only for teachers, it's for all of us.
Indeed, indeed. Thank you so very much, gentleman. That was Anthony Mize from the Department of Education, as well as Mbuyiselo Botha, who is a gender activist. Thank you so much. We definitely need to get our hands dirty. Everybody needs to play a role. Nko, I'm going to throw it back to you.
Absolutely, weJackie kanjalo kuqala ngokuthi sonke sithathe responsibility for what is happening. Vanessa, I'm going to ask you to step right in front of the mic and make your point. What's your parting shot with us?
Well, I would like to say, where do most of these children spend their time in? The youth of today spend most of their time on social media. So we need to caution the influencers that whatever you are posting, there's a majority lifestyle, couple goals. You need to be cautious of who you are communicating to, because these children take whatever they see on social media and they go and act it out. They go practice it. And also the internet. Parents need to monitor their children on these phones, gadgets that they have, because they get access to these porn sites and so forth. So we need to be very much aware of what's happening and be strict on that. That's from me, Chifiwa. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you so much. Do we still have a bit of time for the schoolgirl? All right, what solutions do you want to see as a young person in your school? What change do you want to see? Just quickly.
Teachers, they should teach us more about sex education so that we have more access to it and have more knowledge to know, so that we as students must also influence our peers and let them know about the contraceptives, condoms and everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that, and we appreciate it so much. Guys, thank you so much to my studio audience for joining us and braving the elements. We always appreciate it, and thank you so much to our panelists as well. Wow. Jackie, it's always great having these conversations, and
it's
it
important.
all begins with us.
And I think it's important for expressions to basically champion these types of conversations. And I think as a young person, I hope you've received a lot of insight around what you can do to make sure that you're not part of the statistics. Because I think as expressions, we want to make sure that we're taking these numbers down. It's our role, I think, as a show for Youth Current Affairs show, right?
Jackie, we started the conversation with Domusha. Thank you so much for all your participation. Till next time, take care.
Adios, muchachos. Bye. Thank you for watching.